In this tutorial, I will show you how to create an analysis template to use to batch process multiple files. I begin by importing one of our sample ASCII files. Let's perform peak fitting on this data. So I'll highlight the Y column and select Analysis, Fitting, Nonlinear Curve Fit. The first step is to choose a function. Because I selected the Y column on the Data Selection page, the Input Data branch has automatically been assigned. Let's click the Fit Until Converged button. I'll then click OK and say yes to switch to the report sheet. Now I want to create my own report sheet, or we can call it a summary sheet, with just the information I want from each file I process. So I will right-click to add a new sheet, rename the sheet, this sheet is going to contain the summary results. The values in this sheet will be copied to a new workbook created to store the results of all the files processed. Coming up, you'll learn more how this will work. But for now, let me customize this sheet. I'll begin by adding 3 columns. Now I'll add a long name for each column, beginning with file name, peak center, peak height, peak width, and adjusted R-square value. If I double-click on the grid lines, it'll auto-resize. To add the file names, I right-click and select Insert Variables. I select File Name and check the Insert as Link checkbox so that the value will auto-update when a new data file is imported. If I double-click in this cell, notice the notation indicating that the value was inserted as a link. Now for the other columns, I can copy and paste link the relevant values from the parameters and statistics tables on the Fit NL1 report sheet. Now let's go back to the first data sheet and rename it to raw data. It was renamed with the file name during import. We rename it because we are saving an analysis template, so we want our source or input data sheet to have a name that we can recognize. We don't want it to be the name of the data file, so we'll call it the raw data sheet. This book is now ready to be saved as an analysis template. which we've designed it suitable for batch processing multiple files. So to do this, I select from the File menu, Save Workbook as Analysis Template. And let's call it My Peak Analysis. Now that we've saved that, I'm going to start with a new project. And then from the menu, I'm going to choose File, Batch Processing. And in the dialog that opens, we are going to load our analysis template, so we leave that radio button on. I now need to browse to select my analysis template. We want to import from Files. Where will the data be imported? Into our raw data sheet. This lists all the possible sheets. We want it to be imported into raw data. We now select the data files. I can sort them by clicking on File Name. These are temperature values, so we can make sure they're sorted. And this is the order they will then be imported. Now the sheet to append, which is specifying the summary sheet, that summary sheet will be, the contents will be appended for all 10 files into a new workbook that gets created called Summary Results. Now that sheet is the new one that we had created called My Peak, so we select that. We now can click OK, sit back, and our 10 files will be processed. Okay, so we can see that each file got imported into its own workbook. We now have a book for each of our files. And our summary report here has the information appended from each of the files. So we see the key information from each file. We can turn on sparklines. As I mentioned earlier, the file name are temperature values, so we can now easily see how the peak properties change with temperature. Now that the information has been extracted from multiple files and is in one worksheet, it can now be plotted or further processed. This concludes this tutorial. Thank you for watching.